Now, a lot of you probably remember me growing my cabbages in these cages right here. Got the little netting over it. While this is not foolproof, it allowed me to grow some beautiful cabbage heads over the past few years. Now, this year was the first year I decided not to use these cages. I'm gonna show you what the results of that looks like. Now, all this damage done right here on this cabbage, that was done by the cabbage moth worm. Now, if you look over here to this Georgia collar, you can see some droppings down there on the bottom. That's again active signs of the cabbage moth worm. Down here as well, this is what you want to look for. That's the cabbage moth worm. And that little sucker there can do all kind of damage. Now the collars can handle it pretty well because they're thick leaves. All you got to do is just go in and maybe pluck off a leaf or two. And here is another cabbage. By the time you see this kind of damage, it's far too late and things are out of control. Now in this video, I'm not recommending any particular brand or product over another, but I'm going to give you some options to choose from. These are your options. Now right here is one of the simplest things that you'll probably be surprised at, and this is cornmeal. You can take your oils or you can use water and just spray it on top of your leaves and then go behind it, take the cornmeal, sprinkle it on top of the leaves, and you wouldn't believe how effective this can be when controlling the cabbage worm. Now, the reason why this works is as the cabbage worm feeds on that cornmeal, it basically swells them up and they implode from the inside. In this oil, we have some rosemary, some lemon thyme, as well as lavender. Now, there's a common denominator in all of these herbs that's in this oil. They all have rosmarinic acid. Rosmarinic acid can be just as effective as neem oil in your own DIY oil mix. Let this sit for a couple of months, you have something that could be very effective against that cabbage worm. Now, right here we have BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, and that's also OMRI listed. Now what BT is an active bacteria that's already in your soil. When you spray this on your plants, the cabbage worm feeds on your plants. It affects the digestive system on the cabbage worms, causing them to stop feeding, stop mating, and then ultimately your problem solved. Here's another option, 100% cold pressed neem oil. Now this works very similar to the way that BT does in that the cabbage worm ingests this through eating the leaves. It affects their digestive system, causing them to stop feeding, stop breeding, and ultimately slowing the speed of the infestation of the cabbage worm. Even though it is OMRI listed, and I can't say this enough times, just because it says it's organic does not mean that it cannot have a negative effect on you. You do not want to use neem oil around kids, and the certain medications that you could be taking. The neem oil could have a negative effect on those medications. Now, what's the main compound in neem oil? As a direction. Read the warnings on the neem oil because yes, it is OMRI listed, but there are some things that you want to know about the neem oil. Please read the labels on these things. Just because, I'm gonna say it again, just because it says it's organic does not mean that it cannot have a negative effect. Now, everything that we're talking about today are meant to be options. The more you know, the more you grow. Now, right here, I'm going to mix up some of my DIY oil and see if we can work on getting rid of that cabbage worm. Got my DIY oil there. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of our DIY oil. Move that out the way for a second. There's some cheesecloth here. 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. We're going to take 2 tablespoons of our Dawn soap. And then we're going to add our DIY oil into that. Add our pump back on there. Shake it up real good. You can change your nozzle spray pattern. I can feel that oil in there. So again, we mix that up. And then we go spray. Now I want you to look up in there. You see that sucker right there? We're gonna go ahead and get him first. And what that's going to do is that's going to suffocate him. And that's who's doing a lot of the damage. That's the cabbage worm. See, he doesn't like that.